Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble news channel. The year was 2008. There had not been a banking crisis like this in decades, and it was shaking the whole world. People lost a lot of faith in traditional financial institutions and processes. It was during this time of doubt and confusion that Bitcoin came into being. Satoshi Nakamoto, a person who doesn't exist, presented Bitcoin to the world, which made people curious and interested. It was a completely new idea, not controlled by a single group but rather by many computers all over the world. Bitcoin promised people a new era of financial freedom in which they would have more power over their own money. Satoshi dreamed of a system that wasn't controlled by a single group, a network that was run by its users. He dreamed of a world where people could do business with each other directly, without banks. There are no banks or middlemen, just pure peer-to-peer electronic cash, which makes deals easy. It was a very different and even utopian thought. In the real world, would it work? Bitcoin was more than just a way to send money. It was a protest against the way things were financially at the time. It went against the established order and called into question the very basis of the banking system. This provided an alternative to the current banking system that was open and not centralized. Early users were drawn to it because they saw it as a sign of hope, because it promised to be decentralized and open. The path of Bitcoin was about to begin, paving the way for a new era in finance. The Bitcoin network came online on January 3, 2009, which was a big day in the history of digital money. This is the first block of Bitcoin. It was mined by Satoshi Nakamoto, who is still unknown. This was the start of Bitcoin's trip, which paved the way for a new era in financial technology. Early users, mostly cryptography and cypherpunk fans, began to play around with this revolutionary new technology. They thought this new decentralized currency had a lot of promise and could lead to a future where financial transactions didn't need to go through banks. In 2010, the first Bitcoin exchange happened in the real world. This was a very important event in Bitcoin's history. It was a simple act by a coder named Laszlo Haniches that made history. The price was 10,000 Bitcoins, which are worth a lot of money these days. It seemed like a fair deal at the time, showing how little Bitcoin was worth at the time. No one knew that those pizzas would become famous, representing how Bitcoin started out in a very simple way. They showed that Bitcoin could be used for daily transactions, which paved the way for its future use. It was a small group, but everyone was very passionate about the idea of a decentralized financial system. Online forums were busy with activity as fans and writers shared new ideas and creations. The Bitcoin system was made safer and more scalable by developers working together non-stop to make it better. Building blocks were being put in place for a new financial ecosystem that would change the way we think about deals and money. Bitcoin's value began to rise as it became more popular. People who were early adopters saw the value of their holdings go up. This got people's attention. People began to pay attention to this new digital money. More news coverage sparked even more interest. Exchanges for Bitcoin opened up, which made it easier to buy and sell. The number of users grew beyond the original group of tech-savvy fans. Everyone began to put money into the market. Some people thought it was a risky venture. Others thought it might have the power to mess up the banking system. There were some tough spots on the trip. There were technical problems and security concerns, but the group didn't give up and worked hard to solve these problems. Bitcoin was showing how strong it is. Bitcoin's price kept going up and down wildly. It went through times of fast growth and then sharp drops in value. This unpredictability became one of the things that made them unique. Traders and investors were interested in it. They were interested in the chance to make money quickly. The media often made Bitcoin's price changes into big stories. This made people think there was a risk. It did, however, make people more aware. It got known to more and more people. Blockchain, the technology behind it, also got more attention. Even though it was unstable, Bitcoin's general trend was going up. This new type of assets was clearly here to stay. The world was seeing the start of a new way of thinking about money. As Bitcoin got older, a story started to take shape. More and more people saw Bitcoin as a way to save money. It was compared to gold because there were only 21 million coins available. It was called digital gold by some people. Large-scale investors began to pay attention. They thought Bitcoin could be used as a different type of asset. Bitcoin was added to the balance sheets of businesses like MicroStrategy and Tesla. This acceptance by institutions added to Bitcoin's credibility in the ice. Bitcoin wasn't just a weird thing anymore, it had become popular. Now, the question is not if Bitcoin will live or die, but how far it can go. The rise of Bitcoin was seen by the government. All over the world, governments were trying to figure out how to identify and control this new asset. Some countries accepted Bitcoin, which made the rules for it easier to follow. Others were more cautious, saying they were worried about how it could be used for illegal actions. Uncertainty was caused by the lack of clear regulatory systems. This confusion made it harder for more people to use Bitcoin. Companies didn't want to spend money on a system that might be regulated in the future. The people who use Bitcoin talked with officials. They talked about the good things about Bitcoin, like how secure and open it is. They said that rules should encourage new ideas, not stop them. As Bitcoin became more famous, worries about its ability to grow grew as well. The network was under a lot of stress because there were more users and activities. There were a lot fewer transactions that the Bitcoin network could handle every second than with Visa or MasterCard. This limitation caused the network to get crowded and transaction fees to go up, especially when demand was high. Users often have to wait a long time for their deals to be approved. Several ideas were put forward to solve the scale problem. Researchers and developers talked about and came up with ideas for possible fixes. One way to do this would be to raise the cap on block sizes so that bigger blocks could be used to process more transactions. This would let more transactions fit into each block, which could make the network less crowded and lower fees. A second option was to use methods at the second level, like the Lightning Network. The goal of this new technology was to handle deals that weren't part of the main blockchain. With these methods, transactions could happen outside of the main Bitcoin blockchain. This would make it much less busy and speed up transaction times. There was a lot of heated discussion about scale. Different groups in the community had strong ideas about how to move forward. Bitcoin's future looked different to different people who had a stake in it. Some people put decentralization first while others put speed and efficiency first. But the community kept coming up with new ideas and working on finding ways for Bitcoin to grow so that it could be used all over the world. The goal of the group work was to make sure that Bitcoin would be around for a long time and be useful to future generations. People paid a lot of attention to how much energy Bitcoin used. A lot of energy is needed for the proof-of-work consensus method to keep the Bitcoin network safe. Some people said that this use of energy wasn't sustainable and made climate change worse. The Bitcoin community agreed that something needed to be done about the damage to the world. It was said that Bitcoin mining made using clean energy sources more appealing. Miners were drawn to places where green energy was cheap and easy to get. They also said that Bitcoin's energy use should be understood in the bigger picture. The old financial systems left a big mark on the world with their huge infrastructure and processes that used a lot of energy. The argument about Bitcoin's effect on the world was complicated and had many sides. It wasn't easy, but Bitcoin kept changing and growing. The developers worked hard to make the system better, make it safer, and add more features to it. Bitcoin was hard to ban and control because it wasn't controlled by a single group. In a flash, new use cases came up. Bitcoin was used to send money to people in other countries, make payments across borders, and protect against inflation. Because it was decentralized, it was especially appealing in places where currencies are unstable or where people can't easily access traditional banking services. It looked like Satoshi Nakamoto's dream of a world driven by decentralized digital currency was getting closer than ever. Bitcoin went from being a small-scale project to a worldwide sensation. This shows how powerful ideas can be. The invention